Hello, this is Lab 4. First question, sum of number. Write a program asking the user for a positive non-zero integer value. The program should use a loop, while loop, to get the sum of all integers for from 1 up to the number entered. For example, if the user entered 50, the loop will find the sum of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. 50. Let's start the let's start the code. Let me share it real quick. Here. Should be able to see it right now. All right, sum of numbers. Since we're going to be asking the user for input, we're going to be using the scanner. We're going to be using the scanner class. First, let's import our scanner MBOR Java dot scanner. Oh, it's capital S. Feel like I got a frog in my throat. Drink some water real quick. Maybe I sound a bit clearer. Okay, that should be better. UTIL dot scanner. All right. Now that we've imported our scanner class. Now we need to create a scanner object for simplicity, and so that I can just copy and paste this over and over again. We're just gonna call the variable scanner. All right. We have declared our scanner. Whoa, 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 whoa. Forgot to. There we go. Now we're going to declare, excuse me, now we're going to initialize our variable. Voila. Next, we're going to create our while loop to ensure that the user enters a positive a non-zero number. Okay, let's say, just in case, get into it. HILE. Here we're saying while number is less than or equal to 0, enter. Next, we're going to ask the user for input. Next, we're going to read that input and store that input. We're going to store the number entered by the user in the variable number. Okay, here we're declaring our variables. Mhm. Next, we're going to create a while loop that adds the numbers from 1 to the number entered by the user. Okay, let me explain these lines. This right here, one, let me see this. Okay, we're adding the current value of I to sum and incrementing it by 1. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is show the user the sum. The sum of the numbers entered are base plus sum. Since it's getting off screen, we're just gonna do it like this. Sum. All right. This is going to show what the the sum is after adding the current value of I to sum. Now that we have all that together, we have to close. Okay, we closed. Oh, am I missing one? Then where's the That was, whoa. Oh, I'm slow. It was all screen. I'm a little. Let's save and run the code. Okay, enter a positive number. Let's enter 5. The sum is 15. Next, let me read the next question. You might just see a black screen right now, but it's fine. I'm reading the next question. Number 2 was a bit complicated. Was a bit complicated. You know what? No, it wasn't. Number 3 was the most complicated for me personally. I had a difficult time and did it over multiple days. Back to question 2. Miles per hour. The distance a vehicle travels can be calculated as follows. Distance equals speed multiplied by time. For example, if a train travels 40 miles per hour for 3 hours, the distance traveled is 120 miles. Write a program that asks for the speed of a vehicle in miles per hour and a number of hours in it has traveled. It should use a loop to display the distance a vehicle has traveled for each hour and time period specified by the user. For example, if a vehicle traveled 40 miles per hour for 3 hours, the time period it should display a report similar to the one that follows. There is a chart. On one hand, it says hours, and on the other side, it says distance. For 1 hour traveled, they traveled 40. The distance was 40. For 2 hours traveled, the distance 80. For 3 hours traveled, the distance was 120. And it says input validation. Do not accept negative numbers for the speed and do not accept any values less than 1 for the time traveled. Use a loop to keep on asking the user to tell he/she until he/she gives you an acceptable value for both. So basically like an infinite loop. Covered this in class. Now let's get back to it. Since we're going to be asking the user for input, let's import our scanner class. Let me just copy it from over here so that I don't have to do too much typing. And we're going to create our scanner object. Created. Now that we have our scanner class and created our scanner object, now let's create our variables. I'm thinking of something else. My bad. We're supposed to initialize t for variables. I have initialized my speed variable and initialized my time variable. And I use -1 to ensure the loop runs smoothly. Okay, HIL. This one is intense. This loop is to ensure the user enters a non-negative speed. Enter. This line is so that we can use so that we can read the user input and store the user input in speed. Excuse me. And our next loop will ensure the user enters at least 1 hour. Excuse me if I pause weirdly. My tummy hurts really bad. Hmm. I'm really trying to hold it together. My stomach hurts so bad. Next, we're going to prompt the user for input again. How many hours? This is also set up so that we can read the user input and store it in time, in our variable time. Next, we're going to create the table. This took me a few extra minutes to work out. All right. I've created the header for the table. I'm initializing the hour counter for the loop. Hmm. Oh, where did we go? We're down here. I'm going to explain after, so don't worry. Okay, let me explain the lines real quick. Space. Okay, here I created the header for the table. Here I'm initializing my variable hour for this loop down here. Next, I create the loop to calculate and display the distance traveled each hour. This is so that I can calculate the distance for whatever hour we're on. And then here I print the hour and the distance, and increment the hour by 1. Next, I'm going to close this. Now it's closed. Let's see. Okay. Enter how fast you're driving. Let's say we're driving 50 miles per hour, or let's say 2 hours. And it shows the hours traveled. For 1 hour, I drove 50. I drove for 50, the distance was 50. For 2 hours, the distance was 100. Next, let me pull up the question. Next, read. Question 3, largest and smallest. Write a program with the loop that lists, not lists, that lets the user enter a series of integers. The user should enter -99 to signal the end of the series. After all the numbers have been entered, the program should display the largest and smallest number entered. So we're doing kind of an infinite loop because the loop won't stop until we enter -99. This one took multiple days to complete, and I had some trouble figuring this out. I had a headache after attempting number 3. I messed up so many times. I had to take a break for like a day. And moving past that, I'm just talking to a camera. Moving past that, since we're going to be asking for user input, we're going to need the scanner class. Let's import the scanner class. I'm just going to copy it from over here so I don't have to type it and declare our variable. Not variable. Our scanner object. Let's declare our scanner object. Clear her right here. All right, now let's create our variables for each section that we're going to use this for. This code will get a little complicated. This is in All right. Enter -99 to stop. Now that we got that done, let me explain what's going on. Here, I created my scanner object. Here, I created a variable that stores a number. I created another variable that stores a number. I plan on letting it store the largest number. I created the variable smallest to store the smallest number. I created this particular variable to store the variable that the user will input later in the code. And I used this as a flag to check if this is the first input. So if the first input is true, the code will just stop. So if the user enters -99, code will stop, basically. Okay, let's get into our loop. Right here, I'm reading the input and storing it in the variable number. I'm just gonna copy this so I don't have to keep writing it over and over and over and over again. You know my nerves already. Let me check that curly braces real quick because I can't mess them up. Okay. Let me explain this particular chunk of code. Okay, so this is basically as saying if this is the first, this is basically an infinite loop that continuously gets input. I already explained what this does. And then on this one, it's checking if the user wants to stop, like entering numbers. Because if number equals -99, the code will stop. I inserted a break so that the code will exit. I've messed this particular part up multiple times. Tried using I at first when I first did it and got it to kind of run. This break wasn't here. Without the break, It just continues after you enter negative 99, even though the loop was the even though like this if became even though I executed the negative 99, it continued. Okay, that was my issue later on. And you'll see why I'm keeping this curly brace open later on. I'm keeping it so that everything else I write after it is still within the scope of the code. Okay. So whatever variables I create within this while loop can also be seen by other things inside the while loop. Okay, let us continue. Next. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm basically saying if this is the first number entered, like first number that's entered, first input, first input equals is equal to true. Boom, do this, that, and the third. Let's put that in real quick. Okay, for these particular lines, I set both largest and smallest as the first number. Then I set the flag to false after the first input. So basically, it's going to keep running until you put negative 99 as a pair. But you're probably asking, why do a else and then put an if statement in it instead of doing else if? You'll see later. This, I racked my mind and almost had a mental breakdown over this freaking code. OMG. Don't even know. I know it may seem easy to others, but it's not. I had a hard time wrapping my mind around this. Remember, I copied numbers so I wouldn't keep having to write it. Pause, pause, pause right here. Okay, okay. Pause right here. So, actually, let me finish writing the thing, and then you can see why. Yeah, because if I put an else here, I won't be able to put a condition in here. I won't be able to put a condition here if I put an else there. If I put an else here, I wouldn't be able to put a condition. I tried it, didn't work. You know how to use an else and also insert a condition that goes with that else, please tell me in the comments after you grade this. Thanks. Her, close her. There we go. Let me explain. Let me explain. Okay. Let me explain these chunk of code. Okay. Here we're saying if the new number is larger than the current largest, then update largest. This line is updating largest. And then this is basically doing the same thing. If the new number is smaller than the current smallest number, then update smallest. Learning how to update this was a hassle. Don't cry, oh my god. Don't cry, actually. That was awful. And now we're going to close our while. We closed her. We fixed the formatting. It was throwing me off for a sec. Next. Next, we're going to check if at least one, if there's at least one valid number was entered before we show the result. So if not, if first input, if not first input, I'm gonna spell something wrong. Copy. Yeah, I'm gonna just paste this. If first input, I'm gonna copy number again. If first input, okay, excuse me. If first input is this, that, and the third, do this, that, that. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Ah, all right. The largest Smelliest. That's not gross. Be a valid. No valid numbers were entered. Okay, let's explain. This is checking if if the number the user entered was a valid number. Then these are going to print out what the largest number is and what the smallest number is. And I did this by using the variables, the variable largest and the variable smallest. And then if all of this, if the first number is true, if the first number is not a, a, a valid number, then it will print out no valid number was entered. No valid numbers were entered. Now let's save and run this. Okay, it's asking me to enter a series of numbers. Let's go by fives. 5, enter 10, 15, 20. And to stop it, let's put negative 99. Boom. Oh, it says no valid numbers were entered because I entered negative 99. That one is not a valid number. Okay. Next, this one was the easiest out of all of them. I was quite surprised in making a table in the previous question helped with this question. Let me read it for you. Okay, number 4, write a program that displays a table of I literally tongue tied. A table of am I good? Am I having a stroke? Of centigrade temperature 0 through 20 and their Fahrenheit equivalent. The formula for converting temperature from centigrade to Fahrenheit is F equals 9 divided by 5 times C plus 32, where F is Fahrenheit temperature and C is centigrade temperature. Your program must use a loop to display the table. All right, let's get her done. We're not asking for any user input, so we don't need her scanner class. Awesome. First, let's initialize our variables. And Celsius. I'm just happy because I'm almost done. All right, I initialize my variable. I initialize Celsius temperature to start from 0. Now our next chunk of code is going to loop through the temperatures 0 to 20. Excuse me. Don't mind that noise. It's just my roommate. That's basically what this is doing. This is checking, is looping through the temperatures from 0 to 20. Now into Fahrenheit. Our higher in uh, it. Fahrenheit. 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 No, that's how you spell it. And if that's not, it's going to be spelled like that today. Now I'm going to do the math to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, 9 times times oh, to my base Celsius divided by 5 plus 32. Next, we're going to create the table. We're going to create the table for this. Don't worry. Forgot that. So silly. Next, let's create our table. Celsius. Actually, so I don't have to type anything else. That would be wonderful. I'm just gonna copy, paste. Plus, plus. I already know I'm putting here. I'm doing this so that there's space in between. This, I'm creating the header for the table. And Fahrenheit, copy. Fahrenheit. This is so that I can print the Celsius and Fahrenheit values. And let's increment, copy. Let's increment Celsius by 1. It's Celsius is going to increment by 1 each, like that. And let's close it out. Look. Whoa. We closed it. Whoa. That was silly. What'd I just do? I'm gonna just put that back. Anyway, let's run her. As you can see, actually, let me make this bigger so you can see the whole shebang. All right. As you can see, it goes from 0 to 20 with the, oh, oh, I forgot. I forgot to create the header. I forgot to create the header. Whoops. Let me do that real quick. Oopsie. Forgot to create the header. Oh my goodness, that's silly. Actually, supposed to be creating a chart. Forgot to create my header. My goodness. No wonder it looks funny. It looks funny because I didn't create my header. All right. Wait, I could just keep it in everything and the same thing. Oop, that was silly. And we're gonna do Fahrenheit. I'm gonna just copy it from right here. Paste it up here. And I'm gonna capitalize it since they're headers. It should come out better, not look silly, so that the output is be able to be read. Ah, okay. Accidentally clicked something. I saved it, and now let's run her. Bam! I should push Fahrenheit way over some more. Down over again. Actually, save. It should be over some more. Yes. Yay! You see? You see? Yeah. You see? Okay. It's it's converting the Celsius to Fahrenheit. So if it's 0 Celsius, it's 32 Fahrenheit. If it's 1 Celsius, it's 33 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. That was everything for today. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.